Hello Python programming language enthusiasts, excuse me. Thank you for being with me in another educational video of this programming language. At the end of the previous video, we talked about the design development approach. In this approach, you must have a deep insight into the problem, and having this deep insight will make your programming very easy. For example, about time, what is this deep insight? That a time object is a number that consists of three separate two digits. One two digit is related to second, one two digit is related to minute, and another two digit is related to hour. And these two separate digits which are related to second and minute are in base 60. That means you have a second attribute which is the attribute of our first column. You have a minute attribute which is the attribute of our sixth column. That is, we must assign the first to the 59 column to the second. Consider these columns side by side. From column 60 onward, they are assigned to the minute attribute, which if I put them together again from column 3600, it will be related to the hour attribute. And note that the times are in seconds. The input to the increment function is a second. Let's see the increment function, which its inputs is seconds. This review offers me another approach to the whole issue. In this approach, I can convert the time object to an integer and take advantage of the fact that the computer knows how to do arithmetic on integers. Later, we will convert these integers back to time. For example, let's run this, okay, and then let's have increment on start. Did we have any start object from the class time? Let's see, we had it. Okay. Let's see what we had. Time class has no seconds. We need seconds in increment. Okay, so we need to somewhere define the seconds. Let's have what was the start? Print time on start. We had it this. We have defined this here. You can see it. In fact, now increment is a modifier. You give it. Why didn't seconds here? That is the seconds. Increment. Okay, we will get back to it. In fact, now increment is a modifier. You give it a time and something to modify, and this function applies the changes. You can have this increment with something like this, seconds. Oh, okay, because there is a extra s here. Okay, let's run it again. Let's have the increment with these two. Let's now print time on this new start, and you can see that the value have changed. Now let's apply the increment function with input, for example 500, and you can see that the start has changed again. Okay, so you can see that in fact now increment is a modifier. You give it a time and something to modify, and this function applies the changes. We said in the increment definition that it only executes this conditional loop, this one time. Actually, if this is correct, my sentence is correct, if the conditional loop is built with if. Okay, we said in the increment definition that it only executes this conditional loop once. This is a bug that exists in increment. One way is to use a while, but there are other solutions. So I want you to understand the difference between the two functions, increase time. Let's have it. We had increase time or time increase. Excuse me, time increase. And increment, time increase is a pure function, receives 2 times and returns their sum. It does not make any changes on them, but increment is a modifier. Modifiers apply unchangeable changes, applies some changes to arguments which remains, which stays. And for this reason it is better not to use them until they are needed. Let's try it. For example, T0 as an object of time class, have this T0 hour equal to 2, its minute equal to 30, its second equal to 55, and then have another object, for example T1. Let's have T3. Okay, T3, T3, two, for example, change to 4, for example, okay, and then apply time increase on T0 and T3. You can see the result, which is a type and an address, or we can give it to the print time function in order to have the value. Actually, we can see the result here. Now we can call T0, we can apply the print time function on it, and we can see that T0 has not changed. We can apply the function print time on T3, and we can see that T3 has not changed either. You can see that these are the differences between modifiers and pure functions. Okay, let's define another function, def time to int with an input argument time, for example. Let's define minutes. Pay attention to this plural form of words, minutes, s, time, hour, multiplying 60 plus time, minutes. And also we can define a seconds variable, which is this minutes, multiply in 60 plus this time object, second variable actually. And after all, we can say to return the seconds, this variable. You can see it. With this function, you can convert any time object into an integer that is equal to the number of seconds in that time. We can also make the inverse function of this function so that we can convert the integer representing the number of seconds into time format. There is a built-in function in Python called the div mode. Let's try it here in kernel, div mode. This function actually receives two numbers as input and divides the first number by the second number. Then it returns two numbers in the output. The first number is outside of this division, and the second number is the remainder actually. You can see that. If you multiply this 6 in this 3 and add the result with 2, you can have this 20. Now consider, for example, div mode 1060. You can see that this second number is the remainder and could not exceed the 60. So let's have the reverse function here, def int to time seconds. The input argument is the output argument of this function. We consider time as an object of a time class, and consider a variable which is named minutes, and this time second as the output of this built-in function div mode with inputs, the input argument seconds and the 60. Same about hour and minute. We can create these features by do it minutes and 60. You can see them. Return time. Okay, this remainder will never be greater than 60, so it can be the same second. Okay, press F5 to run. Now let's call, we had an object time underscore. Okay, let's apply the print time of function on it, and we can see the result. Let's apply this time to int function to the same object. You can see the result. Okay. This will return you a number which is the number of seconds. And now let's apply the int to time function on this number. Copy, paste, and you can see that you have this format. This is the same as this. Okay. You can also apply print time to it. Copy, paste. Don't forget the parentheses, and you can see the result here. Okay. This is called stability checking, actually, consistency checking, something like this. You can see you can apply time to int on int to time on, for example, 1500. Don't forget the parentheses, press enter, and you can see the result. Actually, output and the input must be the same. We want to have this conversion to seconds, and again to time in the function increase time. We can time increase, actually. We can have it here, time increase. Actually, we do not need all these lines of codes. Actually, we can comment them. Okay, and we can have this. Let's check it. We need a seconds variable. Apply time to int function on t1 plus the result with applying at the same time to int function on t2. Okay, and then we need to return, okay, applying int to time and the same seconds variable which is defined here. Okay, press F5. Time to int is not defined. But we defined it here. Let's have what is the problem here? Time to int. What is the problem? Time to int. But we have used it. Seconds time to int to 1. Could it be because we have used time to int before defining it? What's your idea? We have used the function time to int. What is the problem here? Time to int. There should be no problem. What is the problem? Let's figure out together. Copy the name. Paste here. Paste here. Run it again and again, the same error. Let me see. Into time, seconds, time to int, and T1. Showing the time of a day, hour, minute, and second. Seconds, time to int. What is the problem here? There should not be any problem. We have defined it. Let's cut them from here and add them here. Before time increase definition. Let's see, would anything change? Okay. Let's do something like this to figure out what the problem is. Maybe the problem will be solved in this way. Let's run it again. Okay, it seems that there is no problem either. It was just because of running ordinarily. there is no problem either. Now we can apply this time increase again on our T0 and our T3, and you can see that it worked correctly, applying print time function on it, and you can see that there is no problem. Okay. In this way, the code becomes shorter and more readable. Let's make a time object. Here, for example, consider T1 is an object of time. Now this T1 hour, for example, 10, T1 minute, for example, 14, T1 second, for example, 37. Now let's apply this print time on this T1, and we can see the result. Let's copy paste this and create another. Where are you going? Okay. And create another object of time class, which is named T2. Its attributes hour has the state, for example, this time 2. Consider T2, its minutes state is, for example, 17. Its seconds, for example, 42. And we can see its a value like this. Okay. Now let's again apply the print time function T1. There you can see this is T1, this is T2. Now let's apply the time increase. On T1 and T2. Okay, of course we can apply print time of function on it. On T1 and T2. T1 and T2. You can see the result here. Okay. So in this way, we kept the problem safe from errors. This approach is very reliable because we considered a general situation. Now, if we want to consider different features for the problem, this approach is easier. In general, in some cases, making the problem more difficult or rather more general, if we look at the problem from above, makes programming easier. Because its special modes are less, in this way the errors will be less, and if there is a bug, it will be much easier to debug. Because time increase is a pure function, now that the function is finished, if we call T1 and T2, we will see that the value has not changed. Let's call them, apply print time on them, and you can see that the value is the same about T2. You can see. Okay. Python allows you to use modifiers, although some programming languages do not allow this at all, but it is better not to use them much except in special cases. Let's add features to this program that will help when debugging. Debugging is not always the way that you write a program, run it, understand its errors, and then you have to look for the exact place where these errors occur and then fix them. There are tools in Python that can help us find these errors. That is, they tell us the reason that caused these errors to occur. We want to add something like this to our code. For example, in the definition of the object of time, it is better to consider this condition. Let's have where would the definition of object class time. Okay. Here, for example, class time. Actually, let's have it here. Have function def correct time and this time object. Okay. If time hour, for example, is less than 0, or this time minute is less than 0, or this time second is less than 0, then, for example, return false. Okay. And if this time dot minute is greater than or equal to 60, or this time second attribute of this is greater than or equal to 60, again I'll return the same false, keyword false actually, else return true. Okay, right. We can call this function once at the beginning of each function that is supposed to work with time, to be sure that we're working with the correct time. If not correct time, let's apply it, and for example, increment or time increase, for example. Let's apply it on the beginning of the time increase function. Let's consider if not apply this correct time function on, for example, T1, or not the same correct time function this time on T2. Don't forget to put the colon. Then you should use the keyword raise. This is here, okay. Have the value error, which is a built-in function actually. And you should have a string here. For example, this is the error will be printed here in your kernel. So you can write a message, for example, time object is not correct, for example. Time object is not correct. Okay. Both race is a keyword and the value error is a built-in function. We can run it and we can consider, for example, correct time is not defined. That's again the same problem. Cut this and add this to the top. You can have it here, for example. Run it again. And you can see there is no error. Let's have start as a time object. Let's have its features, hour equal to, for example, 11 minutes equal to, for example, 25 second equal to 36. Let's have duration, for example. Let's have another object named duration. Copy paste. This should be duration hour, for example, 2. Duration minute, for example, 30. And duration second, for example, 51, for example. Now we can apply this time increase on start and duration. You can see that there is no error here, and you can also apply the print time of function on it to see the exact result. Okay. Now let's have another example which leads to error. Let's have the same start here. Start object here, duration here, time increase. Let's have all of these, but in what format? This time the minute would be, for example, -4. And this is extra. Okay. Let's press enter, and you can see the value error. Time object is not correct, which we have written here. We have written it here. We have written this here. You can see that. Let's apply it again. This time this would be positive, but for example the duration minute is, for example, 82, and you can see that you can press enter and you can see again value time object is not correct. So this is working correctly. We used value because a value is checked. After raise you can use typer, attributor, and etc. So this can help in debugging. One more thing can be done, and that is to use assert. We comment the 2 lines of the if condition here. Let's comment them. Right click, comment. Okay. And we can see assert. You can see that assert is a keyword. Assert the correct time function on T1 and not or, and again the correct time function on T2. If both are true, the result is considered true, but if one of these 2 is false, it gives an error. Let's run it. Let's have the same functions. This is the example in which excuse me for the error, for the problem was occurred. Okay, this was the example in which the minute attribute of the state start has the state which was minus, which was negative actually. We can correct it and give this negative sign to the second and press the enter, and we can see that we have error. Now let's consider this example in which the minute attribute of the duration object is greater than 60. We can correct it and apply it to the second attribute again, for example 99. And we can press enter, and we can see the error here. Pay attention to the red printed message. This time we get an assertion error. Okay, thank you for being with me in another educational video of the Python programming language. Stay tuned. Very subtle and practical tips are waiting for you in the next videos. Have a nice day.